Well, supply chains are facing major disruptions amid strikes from one of the nation's largest port operators or workers there. There has been some reprieve. Union members at DP World Terminals have agreed to limit stop work actions to 2 hours instead of 8 hours. For more, let's go to Sally McManus from the ACTU, who's the Secretary of the ACTU. Thank you for your time. So a bit of a step back from the more severe action, if you like. What was the reason for that?
First of all, Happy New Year to you, Tom. The reason for that is that we know what Dubai Ports is doing is playing a game with the Australian government and the Australian people. They're trying to escalate this dispute with the hope that they can bully a government into backing them. And obviously the union can see that that's a game that they're playing and they don't want any part of it at this moment. And during this week, the union's also involved in conciliation in front of the Fair Work Commission. We all know what the workers are after, and that's a cost of living increase. We know what the company's after, and that's a 14% pay cut. So we're hoping that the company realises that they're not going to get anywhere by bullying Australians, and that come to some sense in terms of settling this.
When you say bullying, though, on the table, a 4% pay rise with a 2% bonus, that doesn't sound like too harsh a sort of condition being offered to the workers.
Well, the workers haven't had a pay rise since 2022, and that was a 2.5% increase. Obviously, over that period of time, that means the real wage cuts have been pretty significant over that period. And the other thing is, which we know, is that Patrick's, because it's pretty much a duopoly, 80% of the ports, the operators are either Patrick's or it's Dubai Ports. They pay their workers 17% more. So obviously Dubai Ports is doing everything they possibly can to keep that advantage in their hands. So what the workers are after is...
Okay. You're obviously conscious of what Australians think of this. You said you were wary before of what DP will want to turn this into. What do you think the average Australian worker would think if more strike action is taken, inflation goes up, and they're reading that the average worker here involved in this dispute is on between $130,000 and $140,000? Is there going to be a lot of sympathy for workers?
Well, a couple of things here, right? Pay rise for Australian workers means more money for those families that are in port cities all around our country. And that's money. Where does that go? Straight back into the Australian economy, to Australian businesses, to Australians. If the workers don't win, basically that money goes to the royal families of Dubai, who have plenty of money, I can tell you. Their profit margins increased. It's now 25% on the ports. They're doing very well. They spent $15 million on a golf tournament. So if they can get away with it, they will. But workers themselves getting that money, you need to, respect that, because these workers, and many people don't know this, right? They get told what their shift will be at 2 o'clock the day before. Now, that's pretty unusual working conditions for anyone. 60% of the workers find out their shift the day before. Pretty hard to plan a life around that. Obviously, the jobs they're doing are pretty important. It's heavy machinery that is not straightforward to operate, and they operate 24/7, 7 days a week. So I'm not going to, and I don't think your average would begrudge people getting that amount of money for doing that work, especially knowing the money's going back.
Well, maybe not begrudge that they're getting above pay, but above average pay. But I guess it's a question of how much sympathy and how much higher that would go. Are you wary of pushing too far? Automation, AI, it's what we're talking about. That companies go away and go, let's work harder at that and cut out these jobs altogether?
Well, companies are always working harder at that, and certainly on the ports over the last 30 years, that's what we've seen. We've seen technology come in and totally transform the way that ports work, and I'd imagine that will happen regardless of how this particular dispute ends. The thing is that workers don't see the pay rises that come with that productivity.
Okay.
Dubai Ports in Sydney had a 10% increase in their productivity last year. They're not been offered a 10% pay increase. And the other thing Aussies should think about, this same company has put up the prices for importers and exporters by 52% come the 1st of February. And this is what big companies do if you let them get away with it.
Sally McManus, got to leave it there. Thank you.